one's going to be overhead. The vehicle's going to be coming out to Temple.
This is a night with the KSP air unit. As you can see, we're running a bit late here because usually we try to leave around the evening, but unfortunately for us, we had some mechanical issues with our helicopter, so we're basically going to be using our backup helicopter for this. Usually there's basically two helicopters that we have here stationed at this airfield. We have our main primary helicopter, and then we have our secondary helicopter. Usually the secondary helicopter is used for more SWAT operations, rescue operations, so that, it can get a little bit more wear and tear on the harness and all those types of, harness parts as compared to the first one. This one that we're passing by right here, this one's mainly used for just air patrols and tracking suspects, so on and so forth. But here you go. Either one, they're both perfectly capable. Nothing's wrong with either of them, but we just prefer so that if we, one of them turns into a SWAT scene, well, we have our first helicopter on scene. The SWAT team already has their helicopter ready to go. Basically, they just have to go to the airfield, hop in. But, hey, vice versa. Hopefully, if there is a SWAT scene tonight, that first helicopter in front will be ready to go. We made sure to transfer all the SWAT gear out of this helicopter so that if they do need it, they can just put it into that first helicopter. But we are about to be off and we're about to be good to go, doing all the pre-flight checks, and off they go into the night. But here we go, way up top here. Gonna be leaving this airport here to be patrolling around the area of Keystone. But basically, what do we patrol as a KSP air unit? We basically patrol the exterior perimeter, and we're gonna have to use some footage from earlier. This is from footage from earlier today because this unit stayed out a little bit longer than usual. But basically what we have to do is we patrol along the beach, especially when it's evening, about to be turning into night, turning into dark. We make sure there's no stranded people out in the water because it's a lot harder to see them during the night as compared to during the day. But yep, this is basically one of our duties here. In addition, we also patrol the highways and also just the outskirts of all islands, including the beaches, no beach, whatever it is. If it's an island, it gets patrolled by this air unit. So we do see you. We do see all you guys down there. But here's our first call of the day. It happened about 20-ish minutes into our patrol. So about 20 minutes after leaving the airfield, we got this call in here of an armed robbery at a liquor store. So basically, this is happening in the Coy County Sheriff's Office area. And if you don't know, we have a joint agency deal, I guess you can call it, joint agency mutual aid type of task force that basically our air unit responds to all three agencies, the Beta Beach PD, the Coy County Sheriff, and KSP. However, there is a tier list so that KSP is always at number one. Whatever KSP needs our help, we're going to direct over there unless, of course, it's something, like a murder or a homicide or something like that, or something extreme, then we might stay with the Coy County Sheriff or Beta Beach PD. But at that point, usually they call in the KSP anyways to call in for backup, so we're going to be there anyways for that. But anything else like that, any sort of minor call like a burglary, we'll still go if we have nothing else going on. But if it's burglary versus, armed robbery like this, we're going armed robbery all the way. And then, of course, KSP still at the top. They're doing a felony stop, anything like that, we're going to be right on overhead providing air support just so that that suspect knows that if they decide to run, they can't lose them. They can barely lose KSP ground units, but with us in the air, it's a 0% chance of escape. But as you can see here, we got our spotlight now busting down onto that building. But I don't know if you saw, but we actually have 4 people in our helicopter here. I'll list you the names. We got our pilot, of course, as you can see, that flies the plane. Co-pilot helps fly the plane. We have a cameraman, which has thermal imaging, night vision, and then, of course, regular camera vision. Can zoom in super far away, so even if we're close to, if there's a plane coming in at the airport and the suspect's near the airport and we have to get a little bit far away, our cameraman is able to provide us with eyes on that suspect at all times. In addition, of course, that thermal and night vision helps out at, times like this where it's night. In addition, of course, the cameraman and co-pilot both have binoculars. In addition, of course, we have that spotlight man, as you can see right up top there, that's providing us spotlight support. But basically, if the camera goes down, we have binoculars that both of them, the co-pilot and the cameraman, can both use so that they can still see the suspect. That's the main job of the co-pilot and the cameraman. The co-pilot, in addition to piloting that plane when the pilot gets, a little bit, wants a break, basically, he's in charge of the macro. Where is the suspect going? Where could he possibly start heading off? And he helps guide units when they're trying to do a box like this. Like if there's multiple exits to this building, he would be on the radio talking to the unit saying, hey, you gotta get a unit over here, so that all exits are blocked off. But when it comes to the cameraman, he's more focused on the micro. He's so focused on where is the suspect. Everywhere the suspect breathes, he will be there. He will be staring at that suspect. So that's the cameraman's thing. And then the spotlight, same as basically the cameraman. he's trying to keep the suspect lit up. So basically the two back seat, those are where the camera and the spotlight are. Those two guys are focused on the suspect at all times. And then the pilot is more macro. They're focused on flying the helicopter, and then they also, especially if we become short-staffed or something like that, they may also have to start directing units. You go here, you go there. But we would prefer that we have a co-pilot at all times so that they can direct the units. But here we go. They're ordering the guy to head out, and as you can see, we got the spotlight kind of going in and out there. It's pretty hard. It's a lot harder than you think to have this spotlight at all times trained on these people. It takes a lot of training. But as you can see, they're telling the guy to turn around, face the door, put their hands up, drop the axe, so on and so forth, and they're going to take this guy into custody. And basically, that is when it's code 4 for us. Once he's in handcuffs and he has been completely detained, he's good to go, and they tell us the code 4, then we leave. Until that happens, whether it takes 1 hour or it takes, well, I don't know about 10 hours, but if it took 10 hours, we will be switching helicopters back and forth. No matter how long it takes, we will be at this scene until he is cuffed up or we run out of fuel, basically, and you have to go back to get refueled. But there you go. He is now getting cuffed up. And this first scene of the day, this armed robbery, is code 4 in the Coy County Sheriff's area. Let's go see what our next call of the day is. And here's our second call of the day. It is a vehicle pursuit. This happened about an hour-ish after that armed robbery. So basically now we got ourselves a good old pursuit. This is our bread and butter. This is the reason for why they even had an air unit in the first place, because they basically had a bunch of pursuit crashes from either the suspect, but mainly because of a couple officer crashes. And basically now they want to be able to call off the pursuit at any time and basically be like, this is too dangerous for our ground officers. Air unit take over call outs and basically just maintain eyes on the suspect. And then once the suspect basically pulls into a gas station, he runs out of gas, or he just decides to maybe surrender or starts driving more reasonably, the ground units can continue their pursuit. In addition, think about it. The ground unit, there's only one person in that car. As compared to us in this area unit, we have 4 people up here. 4 people. We literally have a co-pilot whose entire job is to give radio call-outs as to where the suspect is, so that now, instead of those KSP units focusing, or any of those units, KCSO, Beta Beach, instead of them focusing on giving out call-outs over the radio, in addition to the driving and pursuit driving, it'll just be up to us. It'll just be up to our co-pilot. He'll take over the call-outs. He or she will take over the call-outs. And now easy breezy ground units can just focus on driving and focus on getting this driver into custody, whether they have to pit, whether they have to do anything. Imagine that. Imagine trying to pit maneuver a guy with one hand on the wheel and the other hand on the radio. You just can't do it. That's why they have us here in this helicopter. But basically, since the road is basically wide and empty, they're going to give him a little bit of time to drive off, and maybe relax. Give him some time to think before they start doing anything rash, trying to pit him, trying to bump him off the road, trying to box him in. We basically try our best to not have as much damage or injury as possible. Minimize it all. Mitigate it and minimize. Because at the end of the day, even the suspects matter lives to us. We're in charge of protecting all lives, including the suspects. So we don't want this suspect crashing out, getting injured. But if he starts doing some not so intelligent things, then we also are going to have to, raise up to his level and put him into check. But as you can see here, basically the helicopter, we up here are taking over the call-outs. We have a spotlight on him, so that even if the ground units can't really see them, maybe the radio's having issues, so on and so forth, there's a big beacon that just shines bright in the middle of the night that shows them exactly where the suspect is. Just look at that spotlight right there, and you don't even need to have a radio. You can just look for a big light in the sky that just points like a big arrow right to where the suspect is, and you got him. This also helps, especially during foot pursuits, whenever he's going in between alleyways or so on and so forth, or he's jumping over hedges and bushes, so that they know exactly where this guy is. Just look at the big bright light in the sky. Because, the air unit, to us, we see it all. We can see everything. We just see from the top down. So we're like, he's in this bush. He's in over here. He's over here. And to them, they're like, what bush? Because, what we see from up top may be a little bit different from what they see on the ground. But it's pretty similar. But still, having that big bright light, just focusing bam right on him, especially at night where it's easy to hide, it's a big life changer, 100% worth it. And I can tell you right now, the governor of Key State, he will not regret purchasing this air unit. But as you can see now, we're beginning an orbit, and you may be wondering, why are we doing an orbit as compared to just staying in one place, staying stationary? Well, it's because it's already happened, guys. We used to stay stationary. We used to stay in one place, but with an armed suspect, basically, we were in tracking mode with the suspect. We were staying in one place when he stopped, and he just started popping off rounds at the air unit. So ever since that happened, it was just implemented as a new policy. Now we have to continue orbiting around the suspect because it's a lot harder to shoot a moving target, especially with the air, especially with our helicopter blades, with the wind, everything like that. Just it's already hard enough to shoot up in the air at an air target with the helicopter blades, with the air, all this. But a moving target, it's basically impossible for these bullets to hit us. So now we're basically, it doesn't really take much. Also, it helps the pilot stay focused in. Otherwise, he's just going to be sitting there and he may lose attention, not be paying attention. But there you go. It's code 4. We got this guy into custody. And here's our next call of the day. It's a burglary happening in Beta Beach here. But as you can see, the homeowner basically called in saying they saw some guy burglarizing his house from the Ring doorbell and from some security cameras. He wasn't armed. He didn't look like, he was a professional criminal or thief. So that's basically why they only have these 3 Beta Beach units. This is basically all the units that Beta Beach had tonight, readily available. So, if they need additional units, they can call for KCSO, they can call for KSP. But for this little easy breezy clearing of this building, they got us, all right? Who needs nothing more than an air unit? If the guy runs out a window, so on and so forth, we're going to see him and we can just tell the units, hey, he's running over there. And then once he starts running, that's when it gets real. That's when the KCSO and the KSP units or KSP units are going to start coming in and helping them. But as you can see, they're clearing through the house here, and there he is. He's just dancing, having a good time. He's probably on some sort of substance or something. I don't know. This guy is on something. As he's sitting there, dancing, having the time of his life in somebody else's house. They're saying, police, let me see those hands right now. They're about to go arrest him and take him into custody. They want to see those nice empty hands. And there you go. They're about to cuff him up and take him on into custody. And there you go. He's cuffed up. They didn't tell us code 4 yet because they still have to clear the rest of the house. But you already know, you already assume it's basically going to be code 4. But there you go. The power of the KSP air unit at night with our spotlight, with our full crew ready to go, ready to help any unit out, any agency out with whatever they need. But there you have it, guys. That's basically a night with the KSP air unit. It's not a very busy night. We got 1 call basically per agency. But hey, it's better that it's not busy because that means that people aren't getting robbed, no one's getting stolen, so on and so forth. So that means basically we're doing our job because our presence alone has been able to reduce crime in the Keystone State area, in this region specifically, by a large margin. So there you go. We're basically going to be taking this off here and we're going to be heading straight on in here. Also, if you guys want to see a day patrol, just let us know. Want to see any sort of a lifeguard, maybe want to, reach out to those lifeguards, we'll tell them, we'll hook them up. Maybe you want to see a medical patrol, medevac, let us know. Hey, we'll reach out to them. As you can see, all these air units, we're pretty tight-knit community, because we all see each other. As you can see, the KRMC medical crew is actually over there, right there. So, we always, say hello, be cordial with each other because, in major scenarios, when, stuff is hitting the fan, all of us are going to be on scene. I don't know about the lifeguards. Actually, yeah, maybe even the lifeguard. If it's really hitting the fan, something's happening maybe with a ship, a lifeguard, all these helicopters are basically going to be dispatched out. And, we're going to be running skeleton crews on the helicopters. But for the most part, we'll still be there. We'll still be there to help you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this KSP night shift with the KSP.